Chris Scalzo here with the latest episode of The First Run. Tonight, it's just going to be you and me. It's going to be, the co-host is going to be the love between us. So I hope you're really excited about that. We did have a co-host lined up, but they ghosted us. And, alright. Well, I guess I should have seen that. If you say it out loud, Hugh Janus, then I could see where that was a joke. Not cool. So this week on The First Run, you're going to listen to me talk about Gemini Man, the latest film from Ang Lee, starring Will Smith, and Will Smith, also featuring Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Clive Owen, and Benedict Wong. We're also going to tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday. That's October 22nd. We're not going to do streaming or straight to DVD picks of the week because our final segment is going to be the 10, well, I'm not going to say best, but 10 horror films that you can stream right now for your holiday season as a gift from me to you. So let's start everything off with a clip from Gemini Man.
Stop right there! Who are you? I don't want to shoot you!
Fine. Don't shoot me. Mind if I shoot you?
Did they show you a picture of me?
Yeah, you look old.
Kid, you take one step closer. You're gonna leave me no choice.
Thankfully, you have a choice. So Ang Lee returns. Will Smith plays Henry Brogan. He is an aging government assassin. He has a job where he gets the job done, but it doesn't really go well. So he decides he needs to retire. So as he's trying to settle in for his retirement, the agency kind of has an agent kind of sitting on him, keeping an eye on him. And there is this shadow part of the government, maybe, thing that runs its own paramilitary force and has their own kind of elite squad of assassins that Smith used to be a member of. And they are, well, I mean, it's no big secret. It's in all the ad campaigns. They've cloned Will Smith because he was the best. And the only way to do that then is to have a new best, right? Which is the same. So part of the issue with this is that they use some de-aging special effects on Smith. And they're varyingly successful with it. I think one of the big conceit and hook of this film is that it's presented in a high frame rate. I saw it in 60 frames per second, though there are some that were at 120. Unfortunately, none of those screenings were in my area. So even though that is a big hook for the film, because it looks great, the colors really pop. It looks like Will Smith is right in front of you. That's how real everything looks. But the issue is that it undercuts the visual effects. It really makes some of the scenes with a de-aged Will Smith look very choppy and very fake at times. Another big thing hamstringing the film is, though it has a fun concept, it has an exceptionally poor and cliched script. There is a lot of dumb dialogue, some really poor exposition in here, and unfortunately the film just kind of hobbles along. Mary Elizabeth Winstead kind of delivers a workmanlike performance. The problem is she isn't really given much to do, and she seems unfortunately saddled with having to deliver the clunkiest dialogue that this film has to offer. Smith is, as always, he's entertaining to watch on the screen. You know, the guy has charisma, and it's great watching him. But the problem is he's surrounded in a vehicle that is unfortunately dull. Could maybe be an enjoyable enough thing to watch on a Sunday afternoon at home, but that defeats the whole purpose of its existence. This is supposed to be seen on a big screen. It's big, loud, and it has that, high frame rate presentation. So you'll want to see this on a big screen, but unfortunately it delivers nothing else to really make you want to do that. And it's a fun concept. It really is. But it's dully executed. This really, for me, felt like a late 90s action movie trying to justify a 2019 release by having some cutting-edge special effects. And from what I understand, too, this thing has been in development for a very long time, almost 20 years, with had various directors and stars attached to it. Tony Scott, Curtis Hanson, Joe Carnahan, Harrison Ford, Mel Gibson, and Sean Connery were all set to star in it at some point or another. So the film finally comes out, but unfortunately, there's really not much to write home about. So it's entertaining enough, and I would say if you want to see it in the high frame rate to really get the pop and pow of it. Unfortunately, just try and stay awake through long stretches. I think I'm going to give Gemini Man a C-. I think I'm being generous, but that's, I think, what I'm going to settle on. If you've had a chance to see Gemini Man, go ahead and please shoot me an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Let's spend a few minutes then and talk about what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, October 22nd.
This gorge is where all lions come to find their roar.
All lions? Even my dad?
Even Mufasa came here when he was your age. Refused to leave until his roar could be heard above the rim.
All the way up there?
That's when you know you found it. With a little practice, you'll never be called a cub again.
Watch this.
You'll get it, Simba. Just takes time. I'll check on you later.
Dad will be so proud, won't he?
It's a gift he'll never forget.
So that is a clip from Jon Favreau's, unfortunately mostly lifeless, air quotes, live-action reboot of The Lion King. It's coming out in Best Buy with a steelbook. Target gives you a digibook. There's a bunch of featurettes on the making of this thing. Some more to the scene, recording studio, and layer-by-layer progressions of some of the iconic moments like Circle of Life, I Just Want to Be King, and some other stuff. Music videos, audio commentary by Jon Favreau, a digital exclusive, Pride Lands Pedia. Forgive my mispronunciation, which is a short about one of the dung beetles, so enjoy that. Something else coming out, Dead Center, from Billy Sinise, starring Shane Carruth. Carruth plays a hospital psychiatrist who in his own sanity is pushed to the edge when a frightened amnesiac patient insists that he has died and brought something terrible back from the other side. Another horror film being released, Satanic Panic. Sam's first day as a pizza delivery driver is not going according to plan. At the end of a long day and not enough tips, her last delivery turns out to be to a group of Satanists looking for someone to sacrifice. DC Animated Universe is releasing the latest in its series. This time, this is Wonder Woman and Bloodlines. If you get it from Target, there's a steelbook. One of those rare times that Target is releasing one. And then Best Buy has an action figure. New to Blu-ray, Criterion is releasing the documentary When We Were Kings. This is the true story of the rumble in the jungle between Ali and Foreman in Zaire. There's a brand new 4K restoration of the film, a 2009 documentary called Soul Power, new interviews with the producers, and more. Arrow is going all out with its release of Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak. Includes the original 5.1 and 7.1 DTS HD master audio commentary by co-writer and director Guillermo del Toro, and a whole bunch more. Includes some deleted scenes and making of featurettes. The limited edition includes an 80-page hardbound book featuring new writing by David Jenkins and Simon Abrams, an archival interview with Del Toro, and original concept design illustrations by artists Guy Davis and Oscar Ciccione. I used to love me some Guy Davis. He had the long run on the Sandman Mystery Theater, which was a Vertigo DC comic title. Crimson Peak, it's not the film I thought it was going to be. It's entertaining enough, but I think it's weighted down by a rather, again, dull performance by Charlie Hunnam. If you listen to the show with any regularity, you know I'm not the biggest Hunnam fan, unfortunately. So I don't know if I'd be upgrading my Crimson Peak copy for this Arrow release. Though, if you're a fan at all, I mean, they really went all out in this thing. Kino Lorber is releasing 3 films. First off, Zoltan, The Hound of Dracula. This is the horror film featuring Dracula's Doberman. They're also releasing Phobia, starring Paul Mark Glazer. He plays a psychiatrist involved in a radical new therapy that comes under suspicion when his patients are murdered, each according to their individual phobias. Features a brand new 4K remaster of that. Kino's also releasing Trilogy of Terror 2, the sequel to the absolute classic anthology series. Scorpion is releasing a pair of films, CoverGirl and Talking Walls. A Man for All Seasons and Billy Bathgate are getting Blu-ray releases. And then your big new 4K releases this week. Both Charlie's Angels films, the original and then Full Throttle. But then a set that I don't understand. All the James Bond films starring Daniel Craig are getting a 4K box set release, even though he has one more film coming out next year. So I don't know why you would buy this at all, because there's going to be another one, and I'm sure there'll be a master set coming out in some point in a year or so. Probably be the, let me see, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. So this would be the fourth time, if I upgrade, that I've bought the James Bond movies. Ugh. All right, let's go ahead and keep on rolling now. And I'm going to share with you, I think, 10 really good picks for horror films you can stream, well, right now.
Lieutenant Williams,
Speaking. What do you want?
to dedicate a killing to you. Gonna sacrifice a woman just for you. Like the idea?
The only thing I'd really like, is to meet you face to face.
That'll happen sooner or later, but you'll have to recognize me. In the meantime, allow me to make you this special offering.
We're just about there. 1 minute more. It's somewhere down in the Lower West Side, 5th Sector.
Start moving in the Lower West Side. Yeah,
Cop, getting the gift of this kind.
thanks. However, you disappoint me, Duck. You throw a challenge my way. You don't have the guts to let me get there to watch the goings-on. You wait till it's all over.
For the moment, you'll have to be content with seeing the results only. In person, though.
So that is a clip from, well, that's more of a warning. That is Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper, which I cannot recommend. The serial killer there is stalking young women in New York City, and his shtick is that he quacks and talks like Donald Duck throughout the whole thing. And it is not good. It's not good. I know I'm a Fulci apologist for a lot of stuff, but I got to tell you, I am not a fan of The New York Ripper. So let's talk about a few films, though, that are available on streaming services. Now, I'm going to be honest with everybody. I don't have Hulu, so I don't have any recommendations from or for Hulu. Sorry about that. If you have any, though, shoot me an email at feedback@thefirsttorun.com, and I will share those on the next show. So first up, I'm going to talk about what I think is one of my all-time favorite horror films, and it always seemed to watch it around Christmas time, but there's no reason why you can't watch it now, and that is Bob Clark's Black Christmas. There's actually a remake coming out shortly as well. It's currently available on Amazon and Shudder. Bob Clark, the same director who brought us Christmas Story, delivers this just rock-solid, entertaining, and scary slasher film from the late 70s. And it is a lot of fun. So you should definitely check out Black Christmas. There's a guy, Billy, and he's stalking all of these people in this sorority house. Margot Kidder has a great little turn in this thing. Olivia Hussey stars in it, and it is just a ton of fun. Also on Amazon is Sleepaway Camp. Now, the film itself, for the majority of it, is okay. It really focuses. It's very cliched with a lot of its stuff, though it does have some really interesting character deaths in it. But Sleepaway Camp is famous for basically its closing scene, which punches you. It hits you like a sledgehammer. It kind of hints around for stuff, but still, I remember the first time I saw it, I had absolutely no idea. And Felissa Rossi, who stars in the film as a young lady, she's being bullied at this sleepaway camp, her and her brother. But the last basically minute or two of this film will just knock you on your butt. And before that, it's pretty rote kind of, at times sleazy, 80s slasher film. But it does it exceptionally well. And just wait for that finish. You've probably heard about it by now, but it's still something to behold when it actually happens. Now, a rather unknown slasher film that's currently available on Amazon is The Prowler. This one is a hoot. It features a serial killer who's home from the war, and he is slowly picking off people. And it is, I'm not sure exactly what the issue was, why it works so well, but it really does. It's scary, it's gruesome, and it is also a lot of fun to watch. And it's not that well known, but I would say for those 70s and early 80s slasher films, I would put The Prowler pretty close, probably in the low top 10s. It really is that good, and very few people have seen it. Another lesser known that was not on my list, like The Burning. That one's solid too, but I think I actually prefer... And it's interesting because that has Jason Alexander in it before he was Jason Alexander, as well as some other people, and I'm blanking on that right now. Either way, though, I would actually go with The Prowler over any of the other ones. Continuing on Amazon, they have Society. Now, I don't know if you have seen Society, but this is I believe it's a Brian Usna film. I'll check that out while we're pulling all this up. That's how good I am. So it stars Billy Warlock. There was a guy named Billy Warlock. Yeah, Brian Usna. And he grows up in these Beverly Hills and wealthy parents in this high-end, high-class area. But there's something just off about the entire thing. And it has one of the most disturbing and disgusting conclusions in a film that I can think of. It is really just campy, but bizarre and unsettling, and really just a lot of fun. This one will stick with you long after you've seen it. It doesn't have the greatest script, and a lot of the acting is just pure 80s cheese. It came out in 89, but still. I remember watching this for the first time, and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Which is usually a good sign. And Society, I think I said, is on Amazon. Moving over to Netflix, you have one of the better slow burn films that I've seen in the last few years. And that is Karen Kusama's The Invitation. A young couple has a dinner party and invites all of their friends over. And there's just something not quite right about the entire evening. And then as things progress and things are revealed, it becomes a fantastic kind of thriller horror film. It's not overly gory, but it's the way it kind of slowly plays out. It's very uncomfortable, very unsettling. The ending of it splits audiences. Some people are like, what? Nah, come on. And I think actually initially too, I wasn't sold on it. But the more I thought about it, the more I enjoyed it. So The Invitation is currently available on Netflix. Netflix also has Robert Eggers' The Witch. Now, The Lighthouse is coming up in just a couple weeks, which we are all really excited to be checking out. But his first film, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, The Witch, set in colonial times. Some people are not a fan of this film because they speak kind of old English, and it may take a bit to get adjusted to that, but once you kind of get into the flow and rhythm of it, it's all right. But this one is really creepy, really scary. This is all about atmosphere, and the whole thing feels very authentic and real. And Joy is fantastic in it. She plays a young woman whose little brother disappears while she's taking care of him, and there's potentially like a coven or coven, depending on how you pronounce it, of witches in the forest. And she starts to kind of get seduced by all the evil around her. And The Witch is it's fantastic. So we're big Robert Eggers fans around here. And I think they just announced his next film, which is going to be a Viking thriller adventure thing with an absolutely fantastic cast. You should do some Googling and check that out. But we're really looking forward to Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe in his latest film, The Lighthouse, coming up shortly, but see where it all began with the absolutely fantastic A film, The Witch. Moving on to Shudder, I'm going to go with William Friedkin's The Exorcist Part 3. Actually, was it Friedkin that directed that? I don't think it was. It was the writer, right? It was, William Peter Blatty directed it. He wrote and directed it. The guy who wrote the original Exorcist book, So The Exorcist 3 is really, really good. It's one of the scariest films to come out of the 90s. And I feel like the 90s in general for pop culture wasn't exceptionally strong. A lot of films, especially horror films in the 90s, just were not terribly good. But The Exorcist 3 is truly, truly scary, featuring a really disturbing performance by Brad Dourif, the gentleman who voiced Chucky for all those films. But George C. Scott plays Lieutenant Kinderman, who was the lieutenant from The Exorcist who was investigating everything. And he starts to notice some similarities between his current murder investigation and some methods used by the serial killer called the Gemini Killer. This is played by Bradley Dourif, who was executed 15 years earlier. So he finds out that the original priest, played by Jason Miller, he didn't die at the end of the first film. He has been hospitalized in an insane asylum. So he goes to speak to him. And it is so much better than you think it's going to be. I had bought this from Scream Factory because it includes the work print version, which is, I guess they recut it to make it scarier, and they just weren't pleased. It was maybe too existential. I still haven't watched the work print version, and I'm hoping to do that this Halloween season. But you can watch, but even then, The Exorcist 3 is rock solid and is currently available on Shudder. I'm going to give you a pair of Lucio Fulci films. I don't think The Beyond is on Shudder. If it is, I apologize. I didn't see it when I was looking for it. But one of his absolute classics, and then one that was lesser-known films. We'll start with the lesser-known one, and that is House by the Cemetery. A young couple buys a home that had a rather unscrupulous doctor who lived and worked in the home and experimented and murdered people in his basement. And one of the weirdest, outside of the typical Fulci, just craziness and gore and disturbing atmosphere and creaky houses and jump scares, all the stuff that makes Fulci great. The child of the family, this kid Bob, is dubbed by like a 50-year-old man. It's really weird and unsettling to watch. Like that film, is it Burial Ground, where they had the actually kid played by a little person? He's playing like an 8-year-old, but he's like in his 30s. This kind of switches it up. It has a young boy in it, but the English voice is dubbed by an older man, and it's just weird because he doesn't try and change his voice at all. It's like me pretending to be, 6. So, and we're not gonna pretend to see what that sounds like. From what I understand, Blue Underground has announced, coming out in January of 2020, a 3-disc special edition of House by the Cemetery, which includes the original Italian soundtrack and dialogue, which I can't remember if that's available on my Blu-ray or not. I have the original release. I bought House by Cemetery 2 years ago on DVD. Anchor Bay used to release these double packs, like Demons 1 and 2, House by the Cemetery, Study of the Living Dead. That's another one. I don't know if that's on Shudder. I imagine it is. But Study of the Living Dead is also fantastic and has one of the most disgusting gore shots of any film I can remember. That is the young woman in the car where her eyes start to bleed, and then something else happens that I will not ruin for you because you have to see it to believe it. City of the Living Dead is a priest commits suicide, therefore cursing the entire town, and lots of craziness ensues. The other one is, of course, Zombie, or Zombie 2, depending where you are geographically. This is Lucio's kind of unofficial sequel to Night of the Living Dead. A boat shows up in New York City in the shore there, it's Statue of Liberty and the water or whatever. And there's a zombie on board, and a reporter and the daughter of the owner of the boat go to the island where the owner was to find out what happened. They find a doctor there who is trying to help people, but an outbreak of zombieism has occurred on the island. Zombie is famous for two things. Well, three. It's got a kick-ass score that has to be heard to be believed. This is the film where the zombie fights the shark underwater. And also the infamous eye gouging scene are all in Zombie, and well worth the price of admission. There's another film I've bought, I think, 3 or 4 times. And I recently bought the new 4K restoration about 3 months ago, and it looks fantastic. The thing looks almost brand new, like they shot it yesterday. So they did a really great job with that transfer. Finally, I'm going to give you one cut of The Dead, which has got its world premiere. Well, it's domestic premiere here in the States on Shudder. And one cut of The Dead is a Japanese horror film. Well, it's also maybe a horror comedy, but it is one of the best films I have seen. I saw it earlier this year as part of the Gasparilla Film Festival. It was my favorite film of the festival. I would definitely give this film an A. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I think anything I say may spoil it. The best way to watch this thing is to know as little about it as possible. I'll just tell you that a TV crew or a movie crew is set to film a zombie movie in an abandoned World War II Japanese facility when they are then attacked by actual zombies. And that's all I'm going to say. And it is fantastic. It is a roller coaster of scares and fun, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you don't have a Shudder subscription, you can get a pass for 7 days for free. A trial license there, and it's worth it just to watch this film. I am not kidding you. One Cut of the Dead is fantastic. It'd be worth just a month of Shudder or for the subscription alone. It's that good. They have the new Creep Show, which we're 1 episode in on, which I'm excited to watch that. But yeah, One Cut of the Dead is fantastic. In the next few weeks, I am probably going to try and discuss, maybe do some one-offs, some of my favorite horror anthologies. I recently just watched the original Tales from the Crypt, the Amicus film, and I just picked up another one, and I'm now blanking on the name of it. So that helps you not at all. Do you have any streaming picks? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. What other horror films are you watching this season? I would love to know. Maybe something I've never heard of. I'm always looking for some new stuff. So hook me up. Next week, let's talk about what's coming up next week. We're going to be doing Zombieland Double Tap for the show. The week after The Lighthouse hits here, I have already actually got my ticket. Jojo Rabbit, I'm not sure yet. I think I have to wait till the first week in November to see that. But I'm really looking forward to that. I did miss out on the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. There were 2 screenings here. I'll be catching up with that online, hopefully at some point. And of course, the big film is Parasite. We're counting down the days to be able to check that film out when it's going to be available around here. We'll continue our Creepshow marathon with episode 2 next week and more. So I appreciate everybody sticking with me this week. I know it's just me, so it's not half as exciting. And I don't get to yell at Matt or anybody else, which is, I know, part of the attraction. But that's it. As always, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to YouTube. We have these great little videos of the recordings of the show. And you can also go to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. That's how other people will find the show. And that's it. So we're going to go ahead and take an extended break. And we'll see you guys all soon. And then I'm really excited about The Stinger. I just want to say, rest in peace, Robert Forster. We'll see you all next week.
Where are you going?
Spain.
Madrid or Barcelona?
Madrid first. Have you been there?
I hear they don't eat dinner until midnight.
You want to go?
Thanks, but you have a good time.
You sure I can't twist your arm?
Thanks for saying that. But no.
Are you scared of me?
A little bit.